What's up everybody, 3D Theory here. So this is vlog number 1. We're just going to talk about how I decided to get the Bambu Lab A1. Maybe that can help you decide in getting yours, or in whatever printer you do want to get. I've always been working with the Crealities here. As a matter of fact, for my very first printer, I'll put it up on the screen, I was working with the Monoprice Mini Delta V2. That was my very first 3D printer. It was a great printer, I really liked it. But for around the same price, I was able to get bigger printers. Down here, I got a Ender 3 V2 Neo. And down over there, if you could see it, I have a CR-10 Smart. So in order of purchase, I got the CR-10 Smart after the Monoprice Mini Delta V2. Then I actually got the what used to sit here was the CR-10 S5, which was a nightmare of a printer for me. And then I ended up getting the CR-6 Max, which is probably my favorite older generation 3D printer I have in this printer room. And then the Ender 3 V2 Neo, I think it's called, yep. So, in my journey, the CR-10 Smart, that's down there now, was a great printer. It had some issues in the beginning, and if you guys go back to some of my first videos I have on the channel, you'll see my experience with it. But now, it honestly works so well. It's just, you press play and it prints. It's awesome. I really love that printer. It's not being used right now because I'm in production and I needed some extra space. So I decided to just keep one of the older generation printers. And when you hear me referring to older generation, I'm just referring to the slower printers, the printers that don't have hardware that's optimized for speed, and including software too. It was really hard for me to decide what I wanted to do with my 3D printing. I knew I love 3D printing. I come from a world of 3D modeling. I 3D modeled for film, and I just saw this as a natural next progression. So I started to 3D print some of my own custom 3D models, like this one here. This one's called Master Multitasker. I just wanted to create some sort of fun desk buddy, and my first idea was this octopus. And it just sat in a chest here, like a treasure chest, and you would just put it on your desk and you would be known as the Master Multitasker. Then I went ahead and started creating thrones. These thrones were phone holders. So you would put your phone on there and you can actually tilt it as you need it. And it would just be a really cool phone holder on your desk. I did Palpatine's Dark Throne from episode 9. This is Darth Vader's throne from the Kenobi series. I also did Bo-Katan's throne. And I think I did one more throne, but I can't quite remember. I also messed around with making some of these geometric cups, some of these flower pattern cups. And the only thing that sold were the Palpatine thrones. And it's a variation of this. This was my prototype that I had made before I went to do like the full thing. I don't have any right now. I gave them away and sold all of them and took them off my Etsy shop. And as a matter of fact, I don't really have an Etsy shop anymore right now. But I sold about 9 or 10 of these, the one that is meant to hold your phone. And this is actually more accurate to Palpatine's throne design. I kind of changed up the design for the phone holder so that it holds your phone a little bit better. I added a couple of spikes right here. And I just thought to myself, I don't want to do anything that's related to any sort of film or anything like that. I wanted to just have my own voice and my creativity. So while that was going on, I decided to really just step away from the Etsy shop and focus on coming up with my own designs. During that time, I partnered up with a company that needed to 3D print some functional parts. So I decided to buy the Creality CR-10 SE after some deliberation and thinking about it for a long time. But I don't know if you've seen my short, but as you've seen in my short, the parts were being overshot dramatically. They were functioning, they were working great. I had tweaked the models in such a way where the part would actually function really well, but I had to tweak the models. So they basically had a 0.5 millimeter tolerance when in fact it should be more around like 0.1, but that didn't affect anything. It was just because there are overshot corners, I had to adjust the model. And I can show you that model here actually. So just to show you some of the parts here, on the Creality CR-10 SE, I was getting some really overshot corners. Let me see if I can get the camera to focus in on it. If you can see right here, it's not a 90-degree angle, and it's supposed to be, and it's happening to all of those pieces. So because of these like overshot corners, I had to adjust the tolerance so that it would fit. But with the Bambu Lab, you would get really clean, almost 90-degree, or better so 90-degree angles on those parts. So it just looked like a better part overall too, with minimal adjustments on my part, which is what I really needed from a 3D printer. With the Bambu Labs, you do get some strings that come out, and I'm not talking about the really light strings. There's like, every now and again you'll have some like filament popping out of there and you just have to cut that off, but it's a lot better than what I was getting with the Creality CR-10 SE, even though it's still a very functional part, works well. This was just me trying to cut a piece off. This is what these are. These still function very well, and they still did what they needed to do, but just the overall print quality, I felt like I wanted to, the person I'm working with, provide a really professional looking piece. So this is what I went with. I went with the Bambu Lab, and I'm really glad I made that jump. And to be more specific, it's the Bambu Lab A1, the one you see right here. So when I started this little tiny print farm, I bought these Creality CR-10 SEs, and you know, out of four of them, three of them worked well. One of them was giving me issues. And this is the other part that goes along with that L-shaped piece that you saw just a moment ago. And this should be, let's just say flat on both sides. But as you can tell, on the right side, on this side, on the right side, it's thicker than here on the left side. And it needs to be equal on both sides. It needs to be flat. And to illustrate here, I'll show you with these calipers. Now, so on the one side, you got 11.75, while on the other side, you got 9.92. That's a pretty big difference when it comes to functioning parts. I can't have that happen with these parts, so I probably printed out maybe like 5 or 6 of these before finding that out. So it was a waste of filament. And so I put those aside, and I don't know if you know, but Creality does not like to return their printers. And I dealt with that when I had the Creality CR-10 S5. It was clearly a defective printer. Everything I threw at it just wouldn't fix the issue. And finally, when I fixed it, I had become so burned out on working on it for 6 months, going back and forth with Creality. It destroyed production. It was just terrible. So I'm glad that thing is gone. And I said, after that point, first of all, I know I don't like to work on the hardware of 3D printers. I'm a 3D modeler, and I want to work on the 3D models and 3D print and enjoy the prints, as opposed to sit there and troubleshoot all of the 3D printer parts. So with that being said, I knew that if I purchase off of Amazon, I have a return window. So I returned it. It was my first time I was able to ever return a Creality printer. It felt really good because I got my money back for a printer that was not working properly. I did try to fix it myself. I contacted them and gave it a couple of tries, but it just, that S5 put such a bitter taste in my mouth that I said, I'm not going to do that ever again. I just returned it and bought another one. And that one was fine for some time. But I was having issues with printing. So I would press print, and then I would come back 20 minutes later just to check in on it. And it didn't auto level properly. And so the nozzle was scraping the print bed. And that happened with all of the printers. Maybe out of like 5 to 8 prints, one of them would do that. And it was a hassle because I'd have to take out the PEI sheet, bring it over here, start scraping it for about 15 minutes until it was clean, hoping not to scrape off the texture of the PEI. And it was just slowing my production down. And then another printer broke down. Another one of the CR-10 SEs broke down. It started giving me an error code. And I contacted Creality and they started running me through all these, test procedures. And when I went to go to forums, they said that the motherboard needed to be replaced. And I said, I'm not going to just sit here and go through this whole process again of trying to fix it and it not working. So what did I do? I returned it and got another one. The one that came in for its replacement had the same issue as this one, where one side was printing taller than the other. And so that's when I said, I'm done. I'm done with it. I'm done with Creality. But again, I don't want to knock Creality because this printer is amazing. The CR10 Smart is amazing. The Ender 3 V2 Neo was okay. It printed great, but I'm more of a fan of the Smart and the CR6 Max. So I started to hear about the Bambu Lab Reliability, that you can just press print and walk away. And I was about 4 days in, or 4 days left to the Micro Center, or to the sale that they were having, the second anniversary sale. So these go for $3.99, and they were going for $3.39, and I needed them ASAP to continue production. So Micro Center was about an hour drive, so I drove an hour and picked these up for that discounted price and set them up and started printing, and they're for sure reliable. Now there are some things I needed to do. I needed to readjust the tolerance, so I probably printed 10 parts that were useless just to get the tolerances correct again, because these are way more accurate than the CR-10 SE, so I couldn't use the old 3D model I had. I had to adjust it with the new accuracy settings of these, or accuracy printing abilities of these, and that worked out great. Something an engineer told me one time, I was working with an engineer for some time, and cool side fact is he works at BattleBots, the TV show. But something he told me that still resonates with me today and still helps me, that piece of advice, is he said, all 3D printers have a slight variation. So whether you're going from Creality CR-10 SE to a Bambu Lab A1, the way they execute the print, it's going to vary. There's going to be slight measurement differences. The way it turns around a corner is going to vary, and you got to adjust tolerances based off of that. You got to do some testing in the beginning. And I did do testing with the Creality CR-10 SE when I first got it to make it perfectly functioning, and then I had to do the same thing when I got the A1, as I just mentioned. So even with Creality, even with the same printer, let's say you have a Creality CR-10 SE and another Creality CR-10 SE, or even with the Bambu Lab A1 and another Bambu Lab A1, they have very small differences. in the way they execute the print. So, you know, I'll grab a print off of one and attach it to another and it wouldn't work, and then I'll grab the same piece from another printer and attach it to that same one and it would work. And then I'll grab the one that didn't work for that one and put it on this one and they would work together. So I had to do some testing to see which prints would work with the others, and that's just something that really was helpful to know, and I'm glad that engineer told me. I'm very thankful for that guy telling me that information. With the CR-6 Max, I went ahead and I printed these Bambu Lab A1 filament poop buckets, as they call them, because the A1 poops. It's a funny way of describing it, but basically to make sure the nozzle is clean and has clean prints, it has this little thing right here that cuts off whatever filament is hanging from the nozzle so that it's nice and clean. You get something that looks like that. So I printed these out on the CR-6 Max, and man, I really love the CR-6 Max. It just does such a good job. It's just such a nice clean print. You do see streaks, but they're like completely flat and smooth. It's very smooth. I love it. It does a really good job. I'm telling you, these old Crealities, they really do a good job. But as for speed, I do want to talk about speed. If anyone's dealing with printers that don't have the new speed features, it's a night and day difference. Just be careful which printer you buy. I only have experience with Monoprice, which not any of the fast ones. This is my beginner printer, Creality and Bambu Lab, and out of all of them, Bambu Lab is the king for me. They really just knock it out of the park. Although I will say that these parts, which took about 5 hours and 5 minutes on the Creality CR-10 SE, take 5 hours and 40 minutes on the Bambu Lab, which I don't mind. Oh no, I'm sorry, it was these parts here, which I don't mind. It's totally fine because they print out so much better. And again, like, if you get the Creality CR-10 SE for $399, and you can get the same price for these printers, it's not even a comparison. Like, these just, they take it. But again, I don't want to knock Creality too hard. They've been really cool with bringing printers that are affordable to the market and making it really fun. And for those who really like to work on hardware, it gives them that pleasure, tinkering and all that. You know, Creality is still a cool 3D printing company. And but if you're working with things that need to be more, let's just say, printed out with more engineering in mind, like say tolerances, things that are interlocking, me personally, I would purchase the Bambu Lab. They're more, I just feel like they're more professional, while the Creality are more hobby. If you're looking to do like cosplay, Creality works just great, you know. If you're looking to just have fun, it's a hobby, great. But if you're creating interlocking parts that are engineered with precision, again, these aren't probably, I'm not saying because I know this for 100% sure, I've heard it, like these are really accurate and precise, but I think it can get even more accurate and more precise. I think Prusa came out with a Delta printer that it's like super expensive and says the only 3D printer an engineer would need, and I'm assuming they're so precise. Like, you do a 0.1 millimeter print, and when you take it out and use calipers to measure it, it's literally 0.1. So I haven't done that sort of rigid testing with these, but there are other channels that do those sorts of rigid tests. But yeah, this is definitely more for, I feel like, precision. Reliability is a big one. I could just press print and walk away and go take care of other things I need to take care of and come back 5 hours and 40 minutes later and it's done and it's looking great. So that's about it, guys. just a quick few words to wrap this up. I don't know exactly what I'm going to be talking about on a daily vlog, but this is daily vlog number 1. I know that I'm probably not going to stay in this small room for every single vlog. I have a life, I do other things, so I might bring you along on those other things. I like to go walking. I like to go to the zoo for walking, the LA Zoo to be exact. I like to go to other places. I like to try food. This is a part of my life, but this does not equal me. Although I love this, this is something I feel like needs to be in my life, and I think about it most of the time. I watch 3D printing things, and I'm always researching 3D printing and 3D modeling, and this is definitely my hobby, my career, my passion. But I do also do other things, so I'm going to bring you guys along on those things as well. I hope you're cool with that. Maybe we can find cool objects along the way and 3D model them and 3D print them as kind of a memory to places we've been. And yeah, 3D Theory here. It's great to have you guys with us. The channel was paused for some time, but it's continuing now. Until next time, guys, peace, love, and joy.